Coming up on Bridgewater this week, the Bridgewater Police 5K announces its newest charitable cause.
We're very grateful that we can just be a part of this. This is obviously a very valuable service to our veterans.
A local group looks to help dreams come true
while they're trying to get through an illness to help them make it a little bit easier for them.
And the warning from experts about a dangerous challenge taking the internet by storm. We'll have these stories and more coming up. Bridgewater This Week starts right now. Thank you for watching our January 26th edition of Bridgewater This Week. I'm John Luck.
And I'm Scott Olson. Police arrested a Bridgewater man on drug dealing charges after a month-long investigation. David Scott was charged with distribution of a Class A substance and possession, along with intent to distribute a Class A substance. Officers with the WEB Major Crimes and Drug Task Force executed a search warrant after they witnessed an apparent drug deal at the back of Scott's Spring Street residence. Police found several phones, $6,000 in cash, 30 baggies of individually wrapped substance suspected to be heroin, and a larger quantity not yet packaged for resale. Scott was held on a $5,040 cash bail.
A Bridgewater home suffered extensive damage after an SUV crashed into it early Wednesday morning. It happened on Vernon Street when a Chevy Suburban crossed into the opposite lane of traffic on Vernon Street and collided with a Hyundai Tucson. The front entrance of the house sustained heavy damage. The driver of the car was transported to a hospital with minor injuries. The passengers in the Hyundai were not injured. On our last edition, we shared the BR School District will end the pay-to-ride bus program in the 2019-20 academic year. The district-generated service accommodates students who are non-eligible for transportation because they live under the 1.5-mile mark. School officials say the program is costing too much. Additional buses are added to the fleet in order to accommodate students using pay-to-ride. The annual cost of operating a bus is $75,000. The district charges $300 per student with a $600 cap per family. Currently, there are 969 students across the district who live within the 1.5-mile mark, and of those students, 261 utilize the pay-to-ride service, or 27%. Of those 261 students, 8 families fall under the $600 family cap. State law mandates that families who qualify for free and reduced lunch are not required to pay for transportation services, and 66 of the current pay-to-ride students qualify for that provision. The superintendent went on to say that though the law states a 100% reimbursement for students living over that 1.5-mile mark, the school rarely receives a total reimbursement, usually closer to 60 to 80%. Therefore, the combination of pay-to-ride and the shortfall resulted in a loss of $131,599 last year. In the letter, Superintendent Derek Swenson says, "I can assure you that no one on the school committee wanted to take this vote. Taking into consideration limited funds and ever-increasing costs, however, the committee has to be fiscally responsible and prioritize how they allocate the tax dollars of the constituents they represent. Their primary focus, as well as mine, is always on programming and resources that service the academic and social and emotional needs and growth of our students." Officials are working on alternatives for students and families.
Election season is now underway and nomination papers are available in the town clerk's office. The following seats will be on the ballot this April: town clerk, 3 spots on the town council, 2 on the BR school committee, and 3 on the board of library trustees. The timeline for election season is as follows. The last day to take out nomination papers is March 8th. Candidates must obtain 150 signatures before submitting nomination papers to the board of registrars on March 12th. The annual town election will be held on Saturday, April 28th. The last day to register to vote is Monday, April 9th.
Even though it's 8 months away, planning for the annual Bridgewater Police 5K and Kids 1 Mile Fun Run is underway, and our cameras are on hand for the announcement of this year's great cause. The Bridgewater Police 5K and Kids 1 Mile Fun Run has continued to grow in popularity while raising money and awareness for local charities and causes. This year, participants will lace up to support America's Vet Dog, an organization founded in 2003 that raises dogs to assist disabled veterans. The dogs are brought up and trained in prisons. Most of the future service dogs started training at 8 weeks. The dogs are trained by inmates in the prison and then transitioned to puppy raisers provided by America's Vet Dogs.
These are dogs that actually have to get used to any kind of environment. When we are thinking about our pets at home, they just need to know home, car, go for a walk. When we are talking about service dogs, they need to be taken to airports, on a train. They have to know how to deal with slippery floors in a hospital. They have to deal with not being able to go out and relieve themselves for many hours. If the veteran has an IV on and is in treatment, the dog has to learn how to stay quiet and react only when he's asked to.
Bridgewater Police Chief Chris Del Monte points out that this program offers a rare opportunity for inmates to work with members of the public.
We're very proud and very happy that we can do that. They're doing some great work, and it's not often that we find that there's a partnership that works between the civilian population and the population of inmates inside the correctional institution. Usually, for obvious reasons, they're completely separate institutions. But here it's really kind of an amazing proposition where they can both help out and accomplish something very valuable to the public.
The 5th annual Bridgewater Police 5K and Kids 1 Mile Fun Run will take place on Saturday, September 29th, with the Couch to 5K program starting in July.
We will start the Couch to 5K program again. It's a 9-week program, starts with intervals of walking, jogging, running. And by the time it's done, you will be ready to run this 5K with us. You can find information on Facebook at Bridgewater Police 5K. You can find information at bpd5k.com. You can stop me on the street because I'm usually out running. Or you can stop by the station and pick up a flyer.
We'll keep you posted on the 5K throughout the spring and summer.
The Dome at the Bridgewater Sports Complex hosted a soccer jamboree with a special cause. Brian Berard has more.
The 10th annual 3v3 Jamboree was held at the Bridgewater Sports Complex on Martin Luther King Day. The event, which goes to help a wish come true, helps families in need.
So this is our 10th annual Wish Come True Jamboree. We've done it for 9 years now, and what we do is we provide 3v3 Jamboree setting with 4 games apiece for kids ages 6 all the way up to adults, and we donate the facility, we donate all of our time, and every penny that we raise goes directly to a Wish Come True.
The event, which featured nearly 80 teams in southeastern Massachusetts, with the youth divisions playing 4 games and the adult division playing 3 games. Other than soccer, players got the opportunity to win some cool raffle prizes and even get their faces painted.
David, what do you make of this tournament so far?
Oh, this is amazing. It's so fun to see all these people come out to support a wish come true. Kids look like they're having a blast. It's really great. A good day, a full day of soccer.
All right, now tell me a little bit about a wish come true. How did it come about?
Well, basically, it was just a set up to help children 3 through 18 who have illness that really wanted to go somewhere, help them struggle through their difficult parts in their life while they're trying to get through an illness, or to help them make it a little bit easier for them. Mm-hmm. So they set up this program where the child between 3 and 18 years old who can then go on a wish. And it can be all kinds of wishes. We have children who are want to go meet a sports star, go to Disney World. That's a really popular one. Mm-hmm. And so it will. It helps the family, helps the kids. Mm-hmm. They all get to go, and sometimes it's the first break they've had in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Now, for Bridgewater This Week, I'm Brian Berard.
In its 10-year history, the Jamboree has raised over $65,000 for a wish come true, with $6,000 raised this past year. The money from this year's Jamboree went to Jacob Pereira. Jacob's wish was to go to Disney World.
A local sports nonprofit is celebrating a milestone. 4 Deep Sports has been covering youth sports over the airwaves and on local TV for a decade. And I recently sat down with founder Dominic Damiano to discuss his years of service. For 10 years, one program has covered the high school and youth sports scene here in southeastern Massachusetts like no other.
You are listening and watching 4 Deep Sports Talk.
Dominic Damiano has welcomed listeners and viewers to his show, which focuses on young student athletes, including covering live events online and interviewing them on his radio simulcast, filling a void on the airwaves that he noticed while he was in the service.
And I was stationed in Virginia Beach. I was stationed over in Florida. Friends I know that from different parts of the country, from Texas, people from Tennessee, they always had great high school youth sports coverage. And then when you come home, which you already know, in our area, you don't have that. What you have is hypothetically, Brockton makes it to the Super Bowl. Brockton plays BR. BR beats Brockton. And you might hear about who they play. But you don't hear the inside story of the hard work and the work ethic they did and how they prepared for that. And I think we're good at doing that, bringing that out to the kids when they're in the studio.
Again, this is your hour. We're going to highlight Bridgewater Raynham Hockey. Coach, we are 1 win from clinching the OCL, your first year as head coach.
4 Deep Sports Talk started out interviewing athletes and coaches from across southeastern Massachusetts in 2008. Since then, the program has branched out.
We have 4 major sports in our area, so we thought we'd use that. as the idea to do it for deep sports. And then we ended up going into another sport, and then another sport, and then another sport. Next, we should have changed to probably like 22 sports deep. But that didn't seem like it had a good jingle. So again, we thought, 4 major sports in our area, so we went with that idea.
Dominic has hosted many youth teams. However, his show has opened the eyes of viewers and listeners to other sports.
What penalties can you commit? Before we get, what penalties are there?
Many.
Many,
Forearms, elbows.
Forearm, what if you draw blood?
On purpose? On purpose. Because, not by accident, just happens.
Although he provides a stage for young players to boast about their team or season and have fun in the process, in the end, Dominic says he takes as much enjoyment from the program as the people he interviews.
The questions we usually ask them, they just feel accomplished. They feel like, oh, someone actually cares about, the little things that made our program work, and they get to express themselves, especially the seniors, and they get to, tell us the little accolades of, how everything works in the system. So I just think that's unique, and that just personally strives me to, well, you know what, next year's going to be a different team. Next year's going to be a different high school. So that's, that's the mindset I usually go with.
Live streaming programs worldwide and social media are some of the improvements 40 Sports Talk has made over the past 10 years, but for its host, there's still more he wants to accomplish.
Yeah, I want to get bigger. I really want these kids to stand out like you see. Like I mentioned, those other southern states that do it. I want this state, if possible, if it is possible, I can do it, to be as well, to get the kids the same notoriety you see down south, so they have their own sports show. So there's a ticker going by, and you see your school updated, stuff like that, instead of waiting for the paper, or, sometimes we'll mention the high schools that we do get the input from, more input, more notoriety for these kids,
And you can see 40 Sports Talk on BTV and anytime, anywhere online at btvaccess.com.
When we return, firefighters are asking for your help this winter.
And it's time to start working on those taxes. We have tips and ways to keep your information safe this tax season.
$145 over $92. $180 over $111.
$182 over $100. And I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest, and then a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a heart attack or stroke are far from invisible or silent. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed. Head to toe.
Just get in and talk about it.
I've got to go home.
Oh, come on, Carrie. We're going to a new place.
She wants to go home, right? Let's go. Yeah, let's go.
Whoa.
You okay to drive?
Yeah,
I'm fine. You sure?
Relax.
What's a few beers?
If you don't stop your friend from drinking and driving, you're as good as dead. Drinking and driving can kill a friendship.
Students at the Bridgewater Middle School are learning the value of giving back to their community. Over the holidays, health classes completed a community service unit with culminating with holiday baskets for residents at the Hannah B. Shaw Home for the Aged in Middleborough. We'd love to hear what's going on at your school or with your student. You can reach the studio at the contact information listed on your screen. Last year, the Better Business Bureau received almost 1,500 complaints against tax preparation businesses. And now with tax season underway, it's important you do your research.
That's right. Selecting a tax preparer you can trust will help avoid additional fees or even tax identity theft. The Better Business Bureau offers the following tips. Ask around. Get referrals from friends and family on who they use and check reports from the BBB.
Don't fall for the promise of big refunds. Be wary of any tax preparation service that promises larger refunds than the competition, and steer clear of tax preparers who base their fee on a percentage of the refund.
You want to look for credentials. Ideally, your tax preparer should be either a certified public accountant, a tax attorney, an enrolled agent, or a certified e-file provider.
Make sure they have a Preparer Tax Identification Number, or PTIN. A PTIN must be obtained by all tax return preparers who are compensated for preparing or assisting in the preparation of any U.S. federal tax return or any other tax form submitted to the IRS. Consider accessibility. Many tax preparation services only set up shop for the month leading up to April 15th. In the case the IRS finds errors, or in the case of an audit, you might need to be able to contact your tax preparer throughout the year. Be sure to find out how you would do so.
Really important one here, read the contract carefully. Read tax preparation service contracts closely to ensure you understand issues such as how much it's going to cost for the service, how the cost will be affected if preparation is more complicated and time-consuming than expected, and whether the tax preparer will represent you in case of an audit.
Don't forget about Free File. If your income is less than $57,000, Free File offers free federal tax preparation and e-filing. It's available only through irs.gov. Now, taxes must be filed by Tuesday, April 17th. More tips from the BBB are coming up after the program, including finding ways to avoid fraud if you're going to the Super Bowl.
In a big win for the Commonwealth, the state was announced as a finalist in a bid for one of the world's largest retailers. Amazon has announced Boston as one of its 20 finalists for their second headquarters. Getting from 238 to 20 was very tough, the company tweeted. All the proposals showed tremendous enthusiasm and creativity. Boston was the only New England city to make the short list. Other cities or regions included New York City, Denver, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Northern Virginia, Atlanta, Miami, Dallas, Nashville, and Los Angeles. Amazon estimates investments in its existing base of Seattle has resulted in an additional $38 billion to the city's economy. In coming months, the internet giant will dive deeper into each city's proposal, request additional information, and evaluate the feasibility of a future partnership that can accommodate their hiring plans. Amazon expects to employ as many as 50,000 people and invest $5 billion into construction. The company plans to make a decision later on this year.
No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go.
And in today's tech, we're staying with the retail giant Amazon. It has created a shopping experience without lines and checkout, and it's already being hailed the store of the future. By using computer vision, sensor fusion, and deep learning, Amazon Go automatically detects when products are taken from or returned to the shelves and keeps track of the items in your virtual cart. When you're done shopping, you can just leave the store without checking out. Shortly after, you'll receive a receipt and charge to your Amazon account.
No, 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 no.
Rob Gronkowski, one of many people telling you your Tide Pods belong in the laundry, not your mouth.
Do not eat.
The video released by Tide is one of the latest initiatives to stop teens from participating in the latest social media stunt. Now, if Rob Gronkowski can't get through to you, maybe these side effects will.
In the lungs, it can cause them to have trouble breathing, can cause the lungs to fill up with fluids, and literally go into full-blown respiratory arrest. And then they've also been associated with loss of consciousness, drowsiness, seizures, and even all the way up, enough of a concentration can cause death.
According to the report, Poison Control Centers say they have received more than 50,000 calls over the past 5 years in connection with liquid laundry packet exposures. And while most events involved young children under the age of 5, experts say a recent trend amongst teenage children is cause for concern. The report indicates a rise in cases of teens deliberately putting packets into their mouths, recording video, and sharing it on the internet via social media. Poison Control Centers have reported that within the first few weeks of the new year, they have handled as many cases of intentional laundry detergent packet ingestion among teens as they would typically see in an entire year. Dr. Mandalik says that the report highlights the need for parents to be vigilant if they have these items in their home, even with older children.
They're doing this on a dare and having a conversation with them, essentially saying, hey, this is not a benign thing. It's not just you're going to taste something bad, but you could literally harm yourself permanently or even kill yourself.
If you're concerned about exposure, call 911 or Poison Control immediately. Now, as we approach the halfway mark of this winter, fire departments are using the opportunity to remind residents to shovel out area fire hydrants. Bridgewater alone has over 1,000 of them.
And now there's even a challenge out there on social media. Firefighters are urging residents to shovel a 3-foot radius in each direction of the hydrant and a path to the street, captioning it with #HydrantChallenge. Firefighters agree that even a couple minutes of shoveling can make it the difference of how much damage is done by the fire. When we return, the college basketball teams begin conference play while the high school basketball squads play some familiar non-conference opposition.
And with the success of The Room, Mark Macrina thought it was time to take a look at some of the best, worst movies of all time. We're back after this.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it.
Since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Hey,
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
The Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition is the state's leading breast cancer organization. It is focused on preventing causes of breast cancer that stem from the environment. It will be holding its annual statewide Against the Tide athletic fundraising event in 2018. This event features many competitive and recreational activities, including paddleboarding, swimming, kayaking, fitness walks, 5 and 10K races, and even an aquathon. Massachusetts residents can participate by registering online or by calling 1-800-649-MBCC. We hope to see you there.
The BR Trojans girls basketball team has been building over the past few years, looking to make deep tournament runs like teams of the past. On a 5-game winning streak, the team took on a pair of Big Three opponents, and Brian Berard has more.
The Lady Trojans came into the games against Durfee and Brockton looking to extend their winning streak to 6 and then 7 games. In the game against Brockton, Kylie Piche stood out, scoring 14 of her 16 points in the second half with 9 rebounds and 2 assists. Kaylee Matalonis had 10 points, 6 assists, and 4 steals. Shannon Lynch added some points of her own with 7 and 3 rebounds. Kenzie Matalonis and Nina Morrison both had 6 points, while Victoria Dacey had 5 points. And Piche now brings it in and puts it up off the glass. And then in the game versus Durfee, Shannon Lynch was absolutely lights out, scoring 21 points, including 5 3-pointers. Kylie Piche continued her hot streak, scoring 13 points with 2 steals. Nina Morrison added 10 points and 4 rebounds of her own, and Kaylee Matalonis had 8 points, 8 steals, and 6 assists, and her sister Kenzie had 6 points with 4 assists. Kylie Lopes also had 6 rebounds for the Lady Trojans. Lady Trojans extended their winning streak to 8 games with a 52-18 win over New Bedford. For Bridgewater This Week, I'm Brian Berard.
As I mentioned, the team has been improving over the past decade, winning their 9th game of the season on January 22nd, which was 2 weeks earlier than they got their win number 9 last season. The boys team had a deep playoff run on their mind at the start of the season, and they started off on the right foot, winning 3 of their first 4 games. However, after a stretch of 2 wins over their last 6, wins have become more important at this point in the season. BR beat Durfee 74-64. Connor Rubenskis and Darius Hippolyte each hit 4 3-pointers for the Trojans, who won an 11-0 run in the fourth quarter. The Trojans play 3 of their next 5 games at home, including a pair of OCL contests against Dartmouth and Barnstable.
Moving on to BSU, in 2018 hasn't exactly gone the way the Lady Bears would have liked. The team did win its first conference game of the season with a last-second shot, but since then a 10-point loss in a shootout to Westfield State, and a basketball duel with the Bears only scoring 15 points and a 2-point loss to Salem State. Those 2 losses were on the road. Could MASCAC win number 2 coming home against Framingham State? The Bears hung around early with Jennifer White hitting 4 3-pointers in the first quarter and finishing the game with 21 points, while Sarah De Silva scored a game-high 25 points on 10 of 17 shooting from the field. The Lady Rams' Tiffany Harris scored a team-high 22 points. Bridgewater State turned the ball over 15 times, which turned into 19 points for the Rams off of those turnovers. The Bears' next game against Worcester State started off slow with a halftime score showing the Bears up 22-20, but the Lancers won 62-55. 3 Lancer stars scored in double figures, and Sarah De Silva tried to keep her team in this one with 15 points off the bench. The Lady Bears play 4 of the next 5 games at home in a lone road matchup taking place near the Mass-New York border in North Adams. The men's team has turned into an offensive juggernaut in the month of January, averaging about 86 points per game, including a 40-point demolition of Westfield State, which is part of a great week for MASCAC Men's Basketball Player of the Week, Rayshawn Ward. He averaged 23 points and 8 boards. So could Ward and the Bears continue the streak? The Bears picked up win number 10 on the season with the 64-55 victory. Joseph Carty posted a double-double with 17 points and 15 boards. Ryan Carney scored 12 points while Rocky DeAndre had 11 points. Framingham State turned the ball over 19 times and the Bears had 21 points off of those turnovers in another BSU victory. The MASCAC matchup between BSU and Worcester State had a score resembling a Pac-12 game, with BSU winning 94-86. Although the Lancers' Will Watkins Jr. had a game-high 31 points, the Bears starters all scored double figures, including Joseph Carty, who scored 21 points with 18 rebounds. Rocky DeAndre scored 24 in this one as the Bears continue their winning ways, picking up their 8th win in 9 games. The Bears play 3 of the next 4 games at the Tinsley Center, including a rivalry matchup which could help decide home court advantage in the MASCAC tournament as the Bears take on the Salem State Vikings.
Greetings and salutations to all you movie lovers out there, and welcome to our first Hollywood Lowdown for the new year. Woo! I am excited. And what a year it's going to be. Already we've had enough scandals and behind-the-scenes cinematic dramas to run the same time span as a Peter Jackson movie. And we've only just begun. All our favorite shows are returning mid-season. We've already had a Star Wars movie to debate over. Meryl Streep has already racked up an Oscar nomination for something she's in. It doesn't matter. She just has to stand there and they give her one. And X-Files is back in our lives again to divide fans of the old versus fans of the nostalgic. I figured we'd take time to acknowledge the supposed bad film. But why, you may ask, do I use finger quotes for the word bad? Well, because when you do that, everything you say from then on sounds extra smart. And also because what's bad these days doesn't mean it's necessarily the worst. With a film called The Disaster Artist making headlines and opening to a barrage of praise from critics and fans and, get this, Oscar buzz? I know, right? I think it's important to note that just because Oscar ignores your movie doesn't mean you have a loser. The Disaster Artist is the story of real-life filmmaker Tommy Wiseau, Tomatozo, a 6-foot European something or other director who's known for his magnificently awful opus, The Room. The Room has since become a cult classic because of its awfulness. Festivals have been held for it, parodies have been made, books have been written, and now it's the subject of a major motion picture with stars Seth Rogen and James Franco at the helm. But of course, this sort of phenomena with a film or a series of films is nothing new. In fact, many movies have inexplicably gained cult success because of just being so bad, so remarkably bad, that they are in some ways extremely entertaining. Remember Ed Wood starring Johnny Depp? The Tim Burton movie about Ed Wood, one of the worst directors of all time? This movie has since made Wood and his films cult classics, like The Room, Plan 9, and a couple other Ed Wood movies like Bride of the Monster and Glen or Glenda have been quoted, parodied, paid homage to, and have been the mention and subject of many movies and shows. It's talked about on Seinfeld and has made an appearance on The X-Files. And strangely enough, it's been given a whole new respect, mainly because of Burton's Ed Wood showcasing just who Ed Wood was and what he went through. I myself consider Plan 9 from Outer Space to be a classic. It's god-awful, but so much fun to watch with friends. Often drunk, maybe with some other substances during those college years, but let's not open that door. So bad their good movies seem to be a communal experience. Hell, it's what made the success for the show Mystery Science Theater 3000 and their much later work known as Riff Tracks. Adding your own off-the-wall commentary with your fellow movie watchers can make some of the most gut-wrenching movies watchable. That same sort of magic has given birth to Sharknado, a movie so bad it was talked about for weeks to come after its premiere on Sci-Fi. So much so it was eventually released in theaters because of its popularity, and now, 4 sequels later, Ian Ziering and Tara Reid are still cashing in and managing to keep a somewhat movie career going. I'll most likely watch The Room or Plan 9 again, but I doubt I'll ever watch movies like Prometheus, The Arrival, Independence Day, Resurgence, or Life. And of course, I'll be fine with never seeing a Star Wars prequel again, most notably The Phantom Menace, a movie more horrible than one of my segments edited by John Luck. But I know I'll be drinking blue milk and celebrating Life Day with that good old or bad Star Wars holiday special. So So while Oscar rings in this new year of cinema with genetic traumas, usually feel-good stories, and overblown politically influenced sat pictures, I'll be visiting my classic Roger Corman collection and cruising through Netflix and Prime for that next hidden gem of a bad movie gone good. So, until we meet again, cinema peeps, this is Mark Macrina wishing you a happy new year, happy movie watching, and don't forget to watch new episodes of our show, The Franken Zone. It's no longer just yearly.
Well, John, I'll let you respond to the editing comments.
I'm just here to help, okay? Now, if you're going to help somebody out, you would appreciate it. You don't go and steal their Mountain Dew out of their lunchbox and take it as your own. I know that Mark does have a Mountain Dew obsession, but, I went in there one morning, went in my lunchbox, no Mountain Dew, Mark, just saying. And, if there's another Mountain Dew missing, the Franken Zone could be next. Just throwing it out there.
Well, I guess that's kind of breaking news around here of Dewgate. I guess we'll get that later in different episodes. Dewgate and next episode of Bridgewater this week. Anyway, to your news and notes now. Training for the town's community emergency response team will begin this February. The Bridgewater CERT team is staffed with volunteers who have received training in basic first aid, fire suppression, basic search and rescue, and traffic control. Members of the CERT team have also assisted the police department at both pre-planned and emergency responses events. If you're interested in participating, contact Denise Caratazola.
Caratazola. Mamma mia. It's me, Mario. Probably just take it from me if you are interested.
Yeah. Caratazola, okay.
Cannoli.
John said I could probably take it just from, if I'm interested. Yeah. Scroll down, keep scrolling. Keep going. Actually, I'll start there because I messed that sentence up a little bit. Members of the CERT team have also assisted the police department with both pre-planned events and emergency responses. If you're interested in participating, contact Denise Cartazola at denise@7372.org.
Bridgewater Citizens for Civility and Respect is co-sponsoring a film series with the Unitarian Church. The Black Lives Matter film series will take place in the church on the fourth Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. The next film, a documentary about the intersection of race, justice, and mass incarceration in the United States, will be shown on February 27th.
The Bridgewater Senior Center is currently looking for reliable volunteers to drive their Meals on Wheels program, which runs Monday through Friday. Volunteers will need to complete a volunteer application and go to the Senior Center. If you would like to get backed by volunteering to drive for Meals on Wheels, or if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call 508-697-0929 during business hours.
Another chance for you to work on your dance moves. The Bridgewater Community Dance Series featuring a mix of international folk dance and New England squares and contras is now its 7th season. The dances are suitable for ages 10 and up. No prior experience is required, and all dances are taught. Dances are held on alternating Fridays with some exceptions from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the Bridgewater Senior Center. Dates for the Winter-Spring 2018 series are listed on your screen. To obtain a registration form or for more information, contact Sam at 508-697-6848.
Boy and Girl Scouts will be celebrated at the Central Square Congregational Church during the February 4th service at 10 a.m. Scouts that meet at the church on a regular basis will work with Reverend Beth Stotts in leading the entire service. All Scouts who are present will receive a Scout Sunday patch for their uniforms. For information about the church, visit the links on your screen. That's all the time we have for this edition of Bridgewater This Week. Stay tuned for a special report from the Better Business Bureau. For now, I'm Scott Olson.
We hope you join us on our February 9th edition of the program. I'm John Luck.
And I'm Scott Olson. I think I said my name twice. Thanks for watching.
Okay, today we're here with Amy Shane from the Better Business Bureau, and Amy, it's a new year, and everybody's trying to get organized and get their lives together. And
Of course, the catchphrase is new year, new you, and we want to make sure for everybody it actually is you. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Before we get into all that, though, how about we just kind of give everybody an idea of what the Better Business Bureau is all about?
Sure. So we are a nonprofit organization. We've been around for 106 years now. We were founded in 1912, which is pretty remarkable. And you know, in 1912, we were founded on that basis of truth in advertising. Even back then, you couldn't necessarily believe that the product you were about to purchase was going to do what the seller said it was going to do, or the service that you were going to pay for was going to end up being what you thought it was going to be. And so we just felt as though something should be done about it. We essentially became an advertisement regulator, and we would monitor the advertisements that went out into the public to make sure that they were truthful. And when they weren't truthful, we would confront the businesses about it, and you know, get them to either change the advertisement or change the product or whatever it might be, so that it was 100% truthful 100% of the time. We have evolved certainly over the course of the last 106 years, but more specifically within the last decade or so, or a few decades, you know, the internet has become such a huge resource tool, and we wanted to keep up with the times, and we have developed a website, bbb.org, and essentially we help serve as a free precautionary resource tool for consumers. So a lot of people are familiar with the name Better Business Bureau because, you know, you've at least heard the name, and a lot of people have utilized us after they've had a problem with a product or a service or a business. You would reach out to us, you file a formal complaint, we reach out to the business, we serve as the middleman between the two parties and help facilitate the dialogue and hope to come to some sort of solution and resolution. And we still do that. We field complaints every single day, but we really feel as though you're less likely to have a complaint to file if you do a little bit of research on the front end of things, and that's where we would come into play as a free service to the public 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with our website. You can call us and speak to one of our information specialists Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 to 3, but it's nice to know that we have a database. We have over 5 million businesses within that database that have been researched and reviewed, and about 420,000 of those 5 million businesses are accredited businesses. So those are the businesses that you'll see that have that BBB Torch of Trust, that logo. And we really tell people it's like a thumbs up. When you see that BBB logo, it means that someone has done some research for you. We have done some research for you. And, you know, we have identified that they live up to our 8 standards of trust, and they're able to utilize that logo. And so 420,000 of those 5 million businesses that you'll find on bbb.org are accredited. We would never say choose this business over this business. We would just say if we have an inquiry about, let's say, a plumber, a roofer, a contractor, a chiropractor, you know, these are the facts that we have about these particular businesses, and these are the facts that we have about these businesses. Whether it's complaints that are on file, whether they're accredited or not, if they have their proper licenses and certifications, reviews, anything like that, you can find on their business review. And if there's a business that you can't find on our website, contact us and we'll see what we can find for you.
It's great when you're able to deal with local businesses and face-to-face communication, but now with social media the way it is and with the internet the way it is, a lot of communication out there, unfortunately, is not face-to-face, and sometimes you have no idea what you're getting for the information. Speaking of which, we've gone through the month of December with all the countdowns and the best ofs of the year. Now, as we get into the new year, we're kind of talking about some of the top scams that are out there, which unfortunately is an issue because so many people are online. And what are some of the things that the BBB is keeping an eye on as we go into the new year?
Sure. So in regards to scams, and certainly our top scams of 2017, it's interesting because they really sort of circulate, you know, year after year, but the scammers will just change their tactic even ever so slightly. But something that's huge always is vacation scams, whether it's a vacation rental or there is a travel guide or a tour guide or someone of that nature in that industry. It's just so important to make sure that any individual that you're purchasing something from, whether it's a vacation, a timeshare, whatever it might be, that that business has been vetted, and you know, for one, that they're legitimate. That's number one. We want to know that businesses are legitimate. And when it comes to the internet, it's so tricky because you really can't be positive. You really can't be sure. We receive phone calls along the same nature, people selling timeshares and this, that, and the other, or Craigslist even. You could be on that website, which is, a reputable website, but that doesn't mean that every single individual that is posting something has everyone's best interest at heart. And that's what's really difficult. Making sure that there's a track record for whoever it is that you're purchasing from. There are other reviews, there are references if it's an individual. And I tend to tell people, if you can find a track record about a business, whether you can see the good, the bad, whatever is there, at least you can see something to just know that to start, it's legitimate, and then be able to make those educated guesses on whether or not it's a company that you feel comfortable purchasing from. But with vacation scams, they sort of play on your hopes, and that's really what we want. And scams in general will play on different emotions, but vacation or lottery scams, things of that nature, it's tough, because who wouldn't love a vacation at this point?
And some of these scam artists, if you will, have gotten really good at their craft. Their information has gotten very accurate. They've been able to hack into your system ahead of time, so they have all your information, so they understand how to communicate with you. Sometimes their grammar is not that great. That's usually a set-off that's probably not legit. But one thing, a phrase I've always heard about is phishing. Can you explain to everybody what phishing is?
Sure. So phishing emails, and it's spelled P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G. Phishing emails are really, really, really tricky in the realm of these scam artists, because they are emails that look official. They look as though they're coming from legitimate businesses. They're coming in and they look like they're from Verizon or Comcast or Bank of America. The Better Business Bureau was impersonated at some point. UPS, FedEx, and these are all legitimate, credible companies, and these scam artists know that, so they piggyback off of that name, and they create emails that look official. They'll
copy their logos.
Exactly.
They'll copy everything.
The logo, the format, the typography, anything of that nature, to make it look like you're receiving an email that you might regularly receive from Comcast or something like that. And every once in a while, the language you can tell that someone's used a translator, and so it's a little bit broken. But more often than not, it looks fairly legitimate. And it isn't necessarily the email itself that is dangerous, although we do say that before you even get to the point where you're opening up an email, hover your mouse over the email address. And if the box that pops down does not directly mimic the email address that's appearing, then that would be a big sign. So if it's really Bank of America, then it would be whatever their email handle is, bankofamerica.com, whatever it might be. And whatever pops down, it would say the exact same thing. It's not going to say bankofamerica.edu/UK, 5678. And that's usually a telltale sign. But sometimes they can, it could say Comcast.com instead of Comcast.net, or Comcast and the O is actually a 0, but at glancing at it, you don't really catch it too quickly. But it's when we open the email that we really have to take caution, because typically with the phishing emails, the scammers, these computer hackers have embedded links within the email, and those are what are so dangerous. And we always talk about the different variety of scams: phone scams, email scams, letter scams, through the mail. But computer scams are so dangerous. These phishing emails are so dangerous because more often than not, we're clicking on links that we don't even realize are viruses or malware, or putting viruses onto our personal system. And we click on these links, and our computer functions fairly normally to our knowledge, but without realizing it, we've just opened up the doors to whoever put that link there and said, come on in and take anything and everything, and it happens within a half of a second. And it's so dangerous because we don't know that our information's been taken until someone goes and tries to use it. So that's why it's incredibly, incredibly important to be so cautious about the emails that are coming in. And it might take a little bit more time out of our day, but if you're receiving an email and it looks like it's from a company that you do business with or you're affiliated with, don't hesitate to, before you're opening it, contact that business. Contact Comcast, for example, and say, I just received an email. It was in my inbox at 3:02 with the subject line this, and this is what it said. Is it legitimate? And they have a database, just like any business, legitimate business would, of who they've emailed. And they'll say, yes, we did. Please feel comfortable opening it and communicating, via that platform. Or, no, we did not. And then it's good for them to know, because then they're aware that someone's out there impersonating them.
The other big one, I think, is online shopping, when there's a hot topic right now, of course, with the Patriots getting into the Super Bowl.
I know.
A lot of offers out there online for tickets, for travel, for packages. Counterfeit tickets, obviously, has always been an issue. But for folks who are excited and looking for that great deal to get them out to Minnesota, what are some of the things they need to pay attention to?
Sure. Just like any sporting event or any ticket sales or any concerts or theater productions, whatever it might be, all year round we have to be careful. But the Super Bowl is big. We're very excited that we're in it. It's super exciting. But people are going to capitalize on that. These scammers are going to capitalize on the fact that we are so excited about something. It's happening right now, and there's a lot of energy around it. And people know that they have to act quick if they want to make these purchases. But it's when we act too quickly that we end up becoming a victim of, a fraudster that's trying to sell us illegitimate tickets or something like that. Like anything, like we would do all year round when we're finding that roofer, we just need to make sure that the business that we're purchasing from is legitimate or the individual is legitimate. And again, Craigslist is not a scammy website by any means, but that doesn't mean that there can't be someone in that. It's a forum.
Be careful.
Exactly. There are certainly people that prey on sites like that. So just be extra cautious. And we really recommend that if you're going to purchase tickets, try to purchase it through a legitimate site as opposed to an individual, unless you know that individual personally on a personal level. Right. And even then, you still can't be too sure. But you can go to bbb.org and you can type in to the search bar any type of business and industry that you're looking for. And in this case, it would be something like ticket sales, something of that nature, and legitimate businesses will pop up. And it's worth taking just a tiny bit of time to do that because they're asking for a lot of money for these tickets.
Right. All good information. We've got a whole series of these we're going to do here, so we're going to be back next week with some more information. But before we wrap up, one more time, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
That's a great question. Our website is, of course, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, bbb.org. They can email info@boston.bbb.org or our phone number, 508-652-4800. And I recommend if you're going to call, Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 to 3.
All right. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
We'll be back with some more helpful information coming up next week.